All right, welcome. My name is Emily Boscher. My title here is Director of First Year Experience. Just to remind you, you've probably heard that a few times already. Oh, this is fun. All right. Welcome to any of you who are on Facebook right now, who are watching live or watching this recorded. We thank you for tuning in and learning a little bit about this. So I'm going to talk about my work as Director of FYF, or First Year Experience. And what that means in this position is that I combine work on the academic side of campus with the student life side of campus to help students with their transition into college. So we do a combination of academics and social as part of my program in a way to make sure that new students, first of all, feel welcome. That's my primary goal. Second, to help them gain the necessary information for settling into college. So finding resources, answering questions, all of those sorts of things. And then also to facilitate the process of helping them feel like they belong in this community. One of the things that we work very hard at Trinity is to reach out and to welcome people. But the part of the transition for students that sometimes takes a little bit of work is how they learn to open up and come back to us. So we can reach out to them, but how do students invest into Trinity? And so my job is to really start that process and to help support students through that transition. So the first thing we want to talk about, though, is why do we have a first year class? We have this class called FYF, First Year Forum. What's the point of it? And I have to go a little research on you because this is a college, and so we do have to study best practices and think about what is best for students. And so one of those ideas is this issue of transition. And one of the things that research shows us is that transitions in all types are milestones. They're big moments in life that shape what comes next. But the transition into college actually is more complicated than many people think in terms of the different levels of transitions. So when you come in, my office looks at, first of all, that academic and intellectual transition. A lot of students are wondering, am I going to be able to meet the goals of college education? Is it going to be too rigorous? Do I need to study a lot more than I have? Is this going to be a shock to my system? Am I going to be able to make it? And so part of a first year class is to help ease that transition, to establish the levels of study and scholarship that we're going to expect, but also give the support that you need to make sure that you feel confident in that. Another transition that happens is interpersonal relationships, and that might seem a little bit like a no-brainer, but a lot of students are leaving high school friends, are leaving family groups or communities and starting over at Trinity. And that means a lot of uncertainty sometimes in terms of how do I engage with people? Am I going to be able to make friends? Am I going to be able to still connect to my high school friends? What if? You know, what if? There's a lot of those sorts of questions that come up. And so part of this transitional process is helping students make those decisions and think about interpersonal relationships on maybe a new level than you have before. You had students in your class in high school or whatever, and that was your group. How do you start finding new friends or maybe reach out to different types of people? Exploring identity is another one that I don't know that people always think about as much. The reality is that when you enter college, you have this opportunity to really think about who you are, and for the first time, perhaps make some autonomous decisions about who you are and who you want to be. Come on in. You probably want to scooch around the back a little bit there. Wonderful. Identity issues there can be many different ones, but I think about my own transition into college. I was painfully shy in high school. I did not have a great high school experience for a number of reasons. And so one of the things that I was determined to do was really start over, to create a new identity. People didn't know the old Emily when I got to college, and I didn't need to be that same person I was when I was in high school. And so one of the things that I worked very hard at those first few days was to get out of my shell. I very much intentionally, I remember saying to myself, I moved in early because I lived far away, and so I had to come early, and the rest of my floor was moving in, and I remember saying to myself, okay, you get off your bed, you go across the hall, and maybe ask someone if they need help making their bed. Of course, I got like friends later on laughed. They'd be like, oh my goodness, Emily, do you remember what you said to us that first day? But at the time, that's what I needed to get out of that shell and create this new identity. So that's part of the exploration and part of the transition as we come into college. And so this class works with that as well. Career decisions, notice there's an S on there because there's never just going to be one career decision. You may change your major, and that is okay. You may change your job after you graduate from college. I'm on the third career. So the reality is that it's not about helping you make one decision, it's about helping you learn to make these decisions as you go through life. It's that milestone, it's that transition process. Issues of faith and spirituality. This is a time when students get to decide for themselves who they believe, what they believe, how they believe. And you're not going to have parents telling you need to go to church or holding you responsible. It's a chance to make your faith your own or develop it or discover a deeper faith than you had before. And that's a transition too, that we will walk you through that and help you through that. And then civic responsibility. In many ways, students who start college, it's the first time they're around that age of being able to vote for the first time, start to think about what it means to not just live in the community they were born in or grew up in, but what does it mean to live in the greater community, in the country, in the world, and we foster those transitions as well. So our job through this class is to help develop that ongoing support, to be able to give students the opportunity and the voice to talk about these transitions, but also to establish ways that they can continue to get support as they face more transitions throughout their college career. So in order to do that, we do have a set curriculum. And this is, again, it's an academic class, so I work with the Dean of the Foundations Committee. Foundations is our name for liberal arts, or the curriculum that we all share and build on here at Trinity. And so we work to write this curriculum, and then it is taught across the class. So everyone in the class will have the same curriculum. They'll learn the same material. And it follows these sorts of topics. Our number one is community. As you may have heard, I hope you have seen in your time here at Trinity, we value community. And again, it's not just about welcoming you into the community, but helping you make this community your own. And so we'll talk about what that means. And part of what that means is our second point, the idea of diversity and inclusion. We are different people, all of us, for many different reasons, but that difference makes this a better place. And so we'll talk about the ability to talk about differences and to understand that we don't have to be scared about the reasons and the ways we're different from other people, but we can learn about that, we can talk about that. And we do that in part by looking at what's called a Strengths Finder assessment. So all new students will take this assessment. They'll learn their 5 top strengths, and that gives them a chance to talk in class both about how they were created and how they're gifted, but also how, when you don't have certain strengths, how do you rely on the strengths of others to help your experience work? When you're in a study group or when you're with friends, how do you learn to capitalize on that with other people? We will talk about academic flourishing and the liberal arts, so we'll make sure that students understand what it means to be in a liberal arts college, how that's going to shape all of your classes in your major. I love the idea of liberal arts. I'm a graduate of a liberal arts school myself, but I look at students, especially when you look at things, students who graduate from programs that are fairly technical. I have a sister who's a nurse, and she also has a liberal arts education, and she talks about, and I've heard students here talk about, you can be a good nurse, and you can learn all those skills, but it's all those other classes that you take that really help you connect to people on a human level. When you hear their stories and can think about their philosophy and compare it to what you know about philosophy or your ideas, you can hear their ideas of religion, and you have an understanding of different religions because of theology class. Or you can talk about things that go beyond nursing to be a good nurse for that person. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about giving you the skills to do well at the job and the career you have someday, but also to make your experience in your life one of more depth. We also talk about service in this class. Trinity holds a strong posture of service, and we desire students to also be looking for ways to serve. So we go on an all-class service project, and that happens on the last day of this class, or second to last day of this class, and also introduce to students other ways in the future, whether it's on campus or through other organizations, that they continue that ability to serve during their college career. The reason, in part, why we think these things are so important is because of the idea of place. And Trinity thinks a lot about why are we here? What makes Trinity Trinity? Because it's in Palos Heights, Illinois, because it's next to the south suburbs of Chicago, because it's next to a metropolitan area like Chicago. Why are we here? And so we think about doing service to our community. So we've the Trinity community, the Palos Heights community, the south suburbs, and then Chicago. So the service project this year is actually going into the Pullman and Bronzeville neighborhoods, where we will serve in some of the local schools. We did that last year, and it was a really exciting opportunity to not only get them ready for school, but actually work with people who are connected to Trinity and find ways to continue to serve these schools and these organizations. So that's the curriculum, more or less. What is it? I mean, what is this class? Well, as I've been saying, it's an academic class. So this is what we call a 1-credit academic course. So you receive 1 credit towards your graduation. It is required. And it is unlike any other class you will take in your time here at Trinity. Why? One, every single student has to take it. So every student who's at Trinity will have taken FYF and has that common vocabulary and that common understanding as their foundation. The second is because it happens entirely before the semester. No other classes are going to happen the week before the regular semester begins. And we do that intentionally to help you experience a class, experience life on campus, get used to being here before the busyness of all the rest of the classes start and the upperclassmen show up. It's also taught in a small group format, which means you will only have 15 to 17 students in your class, and it's taught by 1 faculty mentor and 1 student mentor. So what's really nice about this is you'll get to know a faculty member very, very well. Maybe it's one that you'll have later in class, maybe it's one you won't, but you'll be able to make that connection and sort of see our faculty as people and see them in the way that they care for our students. The student mentor will follow up throughout the year. They're going to be with you during that first week, but they're also a support system for the rest of the year. So they will touch base as things get busy. They will check in with students, make sure that they are a person that you can go to ask any question, to find out information as you follow through the year. So they're going to be with you for a long time. And finally, it is to build a foundation. Because our liberal arts is called Foundations, this is sort of the foundation of foundation. It is that setting up all the topics that you will see throughout your 4 years. You will be learning about all of these things. I think I skipped worldview earlier, didn't I? You'll learn about worldview in all of your classes. And one of the things that we do right there in FYF is teach worldview, talk about shaping your own worldview, and also thinking about how your worldview reflects or contrasts with the world around you. This is a class, so yeah, there's homework. We do have, class academic-y things, but I also told you that half of my job is social. So we build into this course also a pretty big social element. There's things to do every night. We work very hard to help you, again, get to know each other, similar to what you started doing this weekend, give you that social time so that you are connected as a class. By the time the semester starts, you are united, you know each other, you've made some friends and those sorts of things. So it's not all serious. Here's a little bit of the precise information. FYF, this class begins at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, August 18th. 6:30 p.m. Very unusual, but very specific. And the reason why is because there has to be a starting time, first of all. We need to just establish that. But as you've probably heard, you're thinking about there's move-in day. So some of you will move in August 6th if you're athletes. Some of you will move in August 13th if you're participating in the bridge program. The rest of you will move in August 18th. That process happens during the day. We end that day because your parents have been working hard to help you move in, or your friends and family. So we have a big picnic to make sure everyone is sustained and can go home. And at 6 o'clock, we announce, parents, it's time to say goodbye. And you have half an hour. You're going to have to make it work in half an hour. okay? So you have a chance to spend some time with your family, have a few moments, say goodbye, pack the car, whatever, and then the parents are going to leave campus and we begin class. So 6:30 p.m. on August 18. It ends, weirdly, at about 11 a.m. on August 23. The ending of this course is convocation. Convocation is an event on the first day of class every year where we celebrate scholarship. We think about the reason why we're here, and we kind of dedicate the year of learning to God. And so all the professors are in their robes. We sort of have all the colors and the regalia, and we think about the reason why we're here. We are here to learn. We're here to learn about God's creation. That is sort of the official ending to FYF then, because you are required to attend convocation. So it goes that whole process and that whole period. Because this is a pretty intense class, all students will be living on campus during that week. So just like you all moved into the dorms this weekend, even if you commute in the fall, you will be living in the dorms during FYF. And the reason for that, in part, is very practical. We go late into the night. We have a lot of fun activities, and we really don't want people trying to drive home. And we don't want to have to call you and wake you up. We can just bang on your door the next morning to make sure you get to class on time. So you are going to live on campus even if you don't during the semester. And you'll be getting more information about that as the summer goes on. Because it's a class, there's also homework. So you do have a summer assignment that's due on August 11, so before you arrive. And this is a twofold purpose. One, we would like our faculty to get to know you. And so this paper is pretty reflective. You're going to be able to just share, it's not research or anything like that, but share your thoughts and who you are. And that gives the faculty members an opportunity to really get to know who's coming into their class. The second thing is the topic of the paper gives you a foundation for those themes that we're going to talk about in class. So you've started to think about them, sort of get the cobwebs out of summer, and start focusing on the things we're going to talk about. That will be on Moodle. If you're registering today, you will not see that probably until after July 5, because what happens is after everybody registers, then they have to transport all your data and information into Moodle. So don't panic if you don't see it, tomorrow. And I would love it if you wanted to do your homework tomorrow, but give yourself a week and a half and enjoy the holiday. Okay, so, but it will be there by about July 5, and then you'll be able to have that, and it's due August 11. Finally, how can you sort of prepare yourself besides the homework and those sorts of things? First of all, you'll get 3 emails over the course of the summer. The first one, students will go to your personal email, the one that you gave Trinity when you applied, but the second 2 go to your Trinity email. So if you haven't accessed your Trinity email by this weekend, make sure you leave here knowing how to do that, because we are going to switch for legal purposes. Once you get into college, we really can only communicate with you through your Trinity email. So we're going to start that process over the summer. So start to have that transition. Those emails will reiterate everything you've learned this weekend, and we will send you all these reminders so you don't have to memorize everything we talk about this weekend. Check social media. Amber has a handout that you'll get on the way out, and it has all of our contact information and social media. So we will update things throughout the summer and give you reminders that way. And finally, there is no question too small, no question asked too many times that I won't be happy to answer. 2 student interns and I work over the summer, and we are happy to answer any question. I would much prefer you called me 17 times over the summer with the same question than arrived unsure, scared, uncertain about what you were going to do. I want to make sure you feel confident when you arrive in the fall so you can get this year off to a great start and really thrive while you're here. So that's my goal. And if you have any questions, I will be over in the Info Expo, or my student interns are over there. They can answer questions, or I'd be happy to answer some before you leave. Before you leave this session today. All right? So thank you so much for coming. I hope you have had a good weekend. There's a few more events. There's lunch happening if you haven't had that yet. And I'll see you in the chapel at 1 for our wrap-up. Thank you.